right, everybody, welcome back. Hope you got a good lunch. And let's now let me introduce Daan and his session about the CloudStack community.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. So one small warning: you're not gonna see anything of functionality or code of CloudStack in this talk. It's purely about how the community is organized and how we need to adhere to Apache rules and what we can do and why we do it. So I intended to keep this slide empty other than this, but I thought that was too bad a joke. So my name is Daan in the ASF. I'm D-A-A-N in Dutch, but if you're an English speaker, you won't know how to pronounce this, hence I chose this one. I'm also at ShapeBlue and Gmail and GitHub and LinkedIn and, of course, Apache. We're going to talk about Apache. I am a member of Apache, which I became only this year. I've been a contributor to CloudStack since before 4.0. And I'm also PMC. This was to remind me that I need to say something about ShapeBlue because I'm part of that. I've been at ShapeBlue since 2017, so about half my involvement with CloudStack was for ShapeBlue and the other half was before. And this used to be my personal company logo, and now it's just my best portrait, I think. I look quite like it. So what does Apache mean to us? It's a foundation. It started in 1999 with the HTTPD, the well-known web server. It was a way to organize the patches from different companies that all were around this HTTP server, and soon more projects were added. It has a hierarchy, and anybody that joins is welcomed, and the more you do, the more you are welcomed, basically. And that should be true for all the communities in it, which we are one of. Why do we want this organization? Well, because we want CloudStack not to be dependent on a vendor or on a single guy in Nebraska. Don't know if you all know XKCD, but a big architecture that is maintained by one guy in Nebraska in his attic, and then. So, this is what we are. This is a mess, and I'm going to explain that mess during the talk. But these are all the components of our community, and I made this very big to express that it's the contributors that are important, and the contributors that make up the community. Which is kind of a hard sell, because what is a contributor? So we'll get to that. This is, I think, the 20th birthday of Apache. And the guys' names that you see here, I think it's only guys, by the way, which is an issue in Apache, are celebrating their 20th birthday now. These are the founding members. Most of them are still members, not all of them active. And I'm sure you can get the slides. There are links there. Some of them have links. But for instance, Mark Cox is still active and he doesn't have a link. So this is a big question. We have, of course, sponsors. These are the sponsors for now. We have more sponsors than just these ones. So what is their role in the Apache, in the Apache project called Apache CloudStack, and what is their role in general? Well, the role in the community is there, but this is about their role within Apache. And that's Express. So anybody of you that are in a company and wants to contribute, you have to contribute in your name. So Yvette and I are ShapeBlue, but it's Yvette organizing the conference, not Blue.
And sponsors being the conference.
I think I showed this slide, right? Okay. For the governance of Apache, it's a different story than Apache CloudStack. So there's Apache bylaws and there's Apache CloudStack bylaws, and I'll get to that. This is a link to the bylaws. It's based on merit, as I told, also on consensus. There's a lot of voting, and it's defined, all the voting. Its intention is to create communities, and it's a for the people, a charity. So it has in its statement of foundation that it is its intention to produce good for the world. It's based in, I think, Wisconsin, but I'm not sure. There's an American term for it. It's 501c, and that's the definition of, well, each country has these laws. 501c means that you're a foundation. And in Dutch it's different, but yeah. Choose your, query your own government documents to find the equivalent. But it's American, but as you saw, the founders were not all American. There's a lot of Brits, there's at least one Dutch guy, there's an Indian guy, and yeah. So in Apache, and again, this is slightly different in Apache CloudStack, but we'll get to that. Anything that is decided on is voted on. And some votes are not counted when it comes to things like releases, or we are buying a co-location site. Those kind of votes are just for the project management committee. All other votes are in principle public. So if you are not a member or not a contributor or not a committer, you can still vote. And technical decisions are voted on in the dev list, not by Apache people, but by people that are on the dev list. Those are the people that vote for most things, but not all. In CloudStack, there's an extra thing that if you -1, it means a veto for a lot of things, and that's not for technical things, but for other management decisions. So you must always be prepared to defend that and bring up alternatives if you want to really stop the thing that is being proposed from happening. You need to be sure that you know how it's been done better, how it can be done better, and make sure that that gets known. So Apache is about projects and not about products. So what Apache does is it provides a space for a project to exist. It doesn't provide the releases. That's up to the project. So Apache is a framework for us to exist as a project, but it's our responsibility to make sure that we release. And in fact, if we cannot show to the board of Apache that we're an active community, then they say, well, we'll stop this project. Are there any products? Well, we move them to the attic. And the attic is a special space where dead projects go, including their software. Let me see, do I need to say something else about this? So it's the projects that leave the half products because we are delivering source code. We are not delivering the binaries that Vido and Blue are doing. Those are extra services that Blue and Your Online are providing, and not Apache thing. And of course, that's with consent of the project management committee, but keep that in mind. It's the underlying commit that is the product of the project in Apache. Very complicated. This is also a very nice picture. I stole this And this is on the Apache website, except that I molested it with this little extra. So if you see the organization of Apache, this is where we are. And that's, yeah, you always have that with organograms. You have to really find where are you. But this is where the real work happens, actually, in terms of software, because there's a lot of work going on in Apache, of course, and you can see here why. Everything is a project, so CloudStack is nowadays a top-level project. HTTP, Tomcat are the known one. There are 295 top-level projects, and there are 35 incubating projects, and I'll explain incubating as well in a minute. But also there's marketing. It's a project. There's public relations. Public relations is a bit of a obfuscating name, because what they do is go to the European Parliament and listen in on the talks about CRA. Or the next one coming, I forgot the name, but the last one was GDPR. Of course, this was started, this project, because of that, because we didn't have enough influence there, and we decided that we need to have it. And by the way, the Eclipse Foundation is very active there as well. And the Eclipse Foundation is European-based, so that's an advantage. And then there's infra, and that's something that you want to be involved in a lot, because these guys can give you things like accounts or access to extra machines, etc., etc. They are also responsible for maintaining the GitHub bi-directional replication of the source code, because the Apache Git is not in GitHub. It's a separate machine that maintains all the source code. Now we go to Apache. Now we go from Apache to Apache CloudStack. By the way, I make this mistake a lot, and we have a logo with CloudStack there, but we haven't trademarked CloudStack. It doesn't exist. It's a too generic term. So we have trademarked Apache CloudStack as a full term. We're still maintaining pressure on people using the term CloudStack to change that, but we have no legal standing there. So that is sometimes a bit disappointing. So what's Apache CloudStack? It started in 2010 as VM Ops, VM operations, of course. It was open source after it was bought by Citrix. Citrix then donated it to Apache and kept a premium version as separate. So there was a premium CloudStack and a standard CloudStack, and everybody is allowed to make their own premium, but that no longer exists now. It's just CloudStack. You get CloudStack and that you use. And unless, of course, you go in C with a vendor like ShapeBlue, but we won't do that, by the way. We just upstream everything. Citrix sold it to Accelerite. They are officially still maintaining it, but they've never updated their version since 2016. And I think, coincidentally, it's also called 4.16, but I'm not sure which version they still maintain. Oh, 4.15. A colleague of mine helped me out here. Jitin, he is from Accelerite. In 2012, it became an incubating project, which means that it means that it's a project called the incubator that would guide the then PMC into becoming a top-level project. And here you see some requirements that they had to adhere to. And community is a very important part of that. They have proven it quite quickly. After their first release, which was still incubator, so 4.0 is an incubator release. And then everybody was satisfied, and sometimes they get refused a couple of times, but for CloudStack it was so clear that it was a good community, and so it was immediately promoted to a top-level project. In March, oh, the next year, yeah, that's right. Let me see, do I need to add to this? We are a project, and as a project we deliver products, but CloudStack is Apache CloudStack is a project in the Apache Foundation. We're quite independent, but we report, our VP reports to the board of Apache to see if we're still doing good as a community, if we're still viable as a project. So then the voting, as I already explained, we have a separate bylaw which you can find on the CloudStack site, and we are a bit more, we try to be a bit more tolerant of different opinions than Apache is in general. That's basically the thought behind it. It has some to do with the history where Citrix had the power, but they still wanted it to be an open source project and not having to do the governance themselves. So they allowed -1s because at that moment, almost the whole PMC was Citrix. And only slowly it became something else, a lot of things else. And as I said, yes, if you say -1 to something, then you have to say, but let's do this instead, and then convince other people. And that's encoded in the bylaws. So this is another picture I stole from the Apache site. Of course, I edited my own things in here. So this is a role that you didn't see before. It's the release manager. The PMC and the committers can propose anyone, or anyone of that group can volunteer. I am a release manager for the next release, and the release manager creates that release, tags it, and publishes it, and then we have another release. There can be 3 release managers at once, because someone decides I still want to maintain a next version, minor version of an older, while someone else is already busy on the next major release. That's perfectly possible. Also, often it's not one person, but 2 working in conjunction. So these are the committers. These are official Apache roles. These aren't. So anybody that comes to the mailing list doesn't have to have any karma, any roles, any access, any authorization within Apache. You can just be yourself, send a mail, and at that moment we consider you as a contributor, just because you send a mail. So that's how tolerant we want to be. Be careful there. We want to be, and we all have the duty to guard that. So if you want to be part of CloudStack, you also have that duty, but don't be afraid. It's not that difficult. And then, of course, we have users, and we hope that every user ever will also be a contributor, but that's a slightly different thing, right? So even an operator that operates a cloud is considered a user, not just the end user. Only when they operate a cloud and decide, hey, I have to ask a question on the mailing list or something, or issue a PR on GitHub, that's when they become a contributor. Excuse my English. Yeah, this is very interesting, study it, but yeah, I can't say too much about that here. So, now, you should understand this picture a bit more and why I created it like this. It's a bit chaos, but it gives you a view of what is the intention and why we are organized as we are. Are there any intermediate questions? No? Okay, then I'll go on with sidewinding of the other things I have to say about project. So there's a personal path that you can consider a career. I wouldn't go have your career in your company, but be aware of there's different roles in Apache and how is your journey through those roles. Well, this is basically it. You're a user, you become a contributor, and then if you contribute consistently over a certain period, then you can become a committer. You can be proposed to the PMC, hey, make that guy, make that girl a committer because they're committed. And that name is not for nothing. Committers can be anybody. It doesn't have to be a coder. I am personally for coders. More coders, please. But as I said, Yvette is here because she creates a conference for us. And that's why she became a committer. And actually, she's on the PMC now. There's a few PMC members here, so yeah. PMC members vote in PMC members as well from the committers. And the reason that someone becomes a PMC member is that they're not just committed to the project, but also to the project management. So if someone shows that they are interested in maintaining the project organization and maintaining the governance of the project, then they become a PMC member. And then the next step is this. You become an Apache member. Apache members are chosen by Apache members. There's 800 now. And amongst themselves, they also elect several functions in the foundation. Don't worry too much about that right now. It'll be there. So the project is also under change. So it's not the project. The foundation is also under change. Because of things like GDPR, CRA, members are constantly debating about that and sending way too many mails about that you all have to read and have an opinion over. So if you're not into that, then don't become a member. Well, as I said, GDPR, CRA, AI, there's several government bodies in both in Europe and in America and in, which one was it? I think Saudi Arabia was mentioned today. That are creating laws concerning AI and how author rights and copyrights and those things are to be guarded in software. And then, of course, the project will have to adjust its bylaws to that, because we may not facilitate violations of these kind of regulations. Security is gonna, we're actually in a good place in terms of security in the way we react. So the foundation is quite pleased with us, especially the infra people. But in general, security is going to be more strict, and there may be some generic rules imposed upon us that are actually only in place because other projects don't do the work as well. Too bad, but I think it's very understandable. There's an intrinsic force working on change. We have a logo, the nice feather. I love it. Not every member of the Apache tribes in America shares my love for it. The same goes for the name. So because it's considered appropriation, we are working on changing the name. And then, of course, our project has Broadcom. Thank the powers that be for Broadcom. They're great. Welcome. So, let me think. Yeah, we have about 5 or 6, this I already said. That's why I was confused. We have a lot of documentation on how we do security. Some of that is no longer valid, and this is work in the project committee going on. We're thinking about how to redefine that. there's always this effort has the second line. This effort has been done before. We want some kind of knowledge of how people use CloudStack, preferably automated. But of course, some people object to that. So we're always thinking. We have done things like just enquêtes, just a query on the internet. Also, we have implemented proof of concept for automated feedback, like the installation telling automatically back to the project how many hosts you have. Some people object to that. I don't know why. That's really strange. Of course, if you have ideas, just sprout them out, and maybe it's interesting, and maybe someone will pick it up. This is the current information that we have as a project, and then there's some in Apache as well. So we need to clean that up. That's my biggest focus. I don't think we have really big project-wide management issues at the moment. I'm looking at some PMC members, maybe there are. Other than this, no. That was it. Questions? It was very clear, right? It was very complete.
My question is related to the Apache Software Foundation. Do you think there are any mechanics or any ways in which individual projects can affect or initiate some changes in the current procedures and governance model of the Apache Software Foundation?
Yes, there are. There are several ways. One, as an individual, you can just address the director or the board and say, hey, I don't like this, I want this changed. But that's, of course, a stretch. The second one is that the PMC decides that they want a change and they propose it to the board. It is a slow process because apart from the political and diplomatic work on convincing everybody that it should change, there's also a cycle. There's only one meeting per year where there's being voted on proposals. Of course, there can be it can be asked that there's another meeting, but then we need at least 10% of the members of those 800 members to agree to that. And I think that's it. But there are ways, but it's a slow process. It won't happen overnight. Yes?
Yes, my question. This can be a stupid question, Daan. You can say, shut up to me. With respect to top-level project, do we know from Apache point of view how much top it in the levels? I'm not asking for rankings, but just from their point of view, do we have some good conversations or?
Are we doing good as a community?
Yes.
In comparison to other projects?
Yes.
The information is there, but I cannot point you to a website. And I'm not sure if it's public information. But the reports, if you see the monthly reports, and I think the monthly reports are public, then you see the number of mails on the mailing list. It's there. The number of commits, the number. Those things are all reported back, and that comparison can be made. I never made that comparison to any project.
Just to add, if possible, because I have been on the community overcall in Bratislava with the Apache Software Foundation members. I don't think they actually personally evaluate how good and healthy is a project. So they were sharing that their mechanics is basically just reading the reports and ensuring there are certain information present in that report, and that's all.
They pretty much left them self-governed. Don't interfere too much. They don't really expect, you need to have this many users or that many computers or whatever. So.
And most of the time, they even don't have any background for the project, like how it's developing, what has happened in the last year or in the last 5 years. It's a bit ridiculous, but that's it. It's like they have a checklist and they're ensuring the report is according to the checklist.
Not entirely. They're also looking at the values. I mean, if there's no longer any mail going on in the mail lists, or if there's no longer any commits, then they say this project is dead. But you're right, most people that are not actually on the dev list of a project don't know what's going on. And they're not, I don't think they're interested, and why should they? It's your project that you're interested in.
All right. Maybe one last question, if any. All right then. Thank you, Daan.
Thank you.